Welcome to episode 2 of Green and Gold now here on Sorgy Stories, as the Packers will be taking on the Bears for the 207th time in the all-time matchup. We'll be live for that game on Sorgy Stories this Sunday, 4:20 Eastern, 3:20 Central in the afternoon. And we are joined by a Bears fan here, Reichley, the football expert, um, the Illinois transplant to South Carolina, is joining us to talk about this game. So, Reichley, tell us a little bit about everything you do on your channel.
I do mostly college football, but generally football stuff. I will do some Bears predictions throughout the season, game by game, but a lot of what me and then American Football Network, who you guys may also know on this channel, we do a lot of college football stuff, including College Football Roundup, our podcast channel, and then college football preview and predictions videos throughout the year, along with some NFL draft content. That's our big NFL thing.
So this is an interesting matchup. You have Justin Fields in his second year as quarterback of the Bears.
Second full year as a starter, third year as the team.
Yeah, so second year starting here, with an improved offense, obviously trading that number one pick, getting DJ Moore and Darnell Wright out of that. And we'll talk about the Bears a little bit more in depth. Against Jordan Love, will he lead the Packers to a victory in week one, as it's his first time being the guy in Green Bay after so many years of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers under center for the Pack? And so just give us some initial thoughts on this game, Reichley. What do you think?
Well, really, the initial thought starts and ends with the quarterback position. Really, when you look at it, Justin Fields, Jordan Love really has not been the starter for Green Bay over his first 4 years. He has had a spot start here and there, yes, but where he is the full-time starter and he knows he's going to be the starter week in and week out, has had all the number one reps in practice and stuff like that. He hasn't had that. And all the pressure that comes along with it. When you get a spot start, yeah, there's some pressure, but there's not as much pressure that you're the full-time starter. And if you look bad in this game, then it's going to be a big thing throughout the season. I expect Green Bay to really be able to pound the rock as much as possible, because I think that they're going to want to take as much pressure off of Jordan Love. And I do think that is somewhat of a weakness for the Bears defense, is that rush defense, as it was terrible last year. But I do think that you definitely have an improved defensive tackle spot with the 2 draft picks that you have in Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens, but also in the guys you picked up and Andrew Billingsley and stuff like that. And then you still have Justin Jones there. So the defensive tackle spot, it is improved, but it was a weak point last year. And you did sign Yannick Ngakoue, a great pass rush specialist, but run defensive-wise, he's a little bit iffy. So I do expect Green Bay to try to pound the rock there. But when it comes to the Bears offensively, especially at the quarterback position, I expect something that I haven't expected ever as a Bears fan in my short lifetime as a Bears fan, since I started watching 2014, 2015 is kind of my cognizant memory as a Bears fan. And we have an explosive offense for once. You have guys like DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney, and even a Velus Jones Jr., who can be explosive as long as he doesn't fumble the ball away. So you're looking at a team that just simply has some explosiveness, which is something that Green Bay does not have in this game, which is something weird as a Bears fan, that the Bears have some explosiveness and Green Bay just does not. So I think that could be a defining factor in this game.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I'll make a point about this Packers team. I was just looking this up before we started recording. The Packers lose 8 starters from last year. Rodgers, Lazard, Cobb, Tunyon. Lewis played a decent amount, and then Lowry, Reed, and Amos on the defense. They're losing pieces. It's a very young team. I mean, if it tells you anything, I marked down my question marks. Who do I think is going to be good, who, great, and then
Mhm.
maybe we'll see how good they are. The entire wide receiver and tight end core is completely folded because I have no idea what I'm going to get out of them. Obviously, last year you have Christian Watson, who was the second leading receiver for the Packers, 611 yards, an average of 15 yards a catch. And he had 7 touchdowns, targeted 66 times, caught 41 of them. So he should be pretty entertaining to watch as he's a deep threat. But meanwhile, Romeo Doubs feels much more like the number one receiver coming out of camp, as he had 425 yards last year. But you're not going to be seeing him go deep much. He'll be a first down receiver compared to a 20, 30-yard deep threat. So I think you could see some, as you said, ground and pound from the pack. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe they go deep to Watson. Jordan Love, as you mentioned, hasn't played much in his entire career. He has about a game and 3/4 of experience. He played that full game against the Chiefs and then half game against the Lions and a quarter against the Eagles. Last year, specifically, 14 for 21, a 66.7 completion percentage, 195 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks, and a passer rating of 112. Generally, I mean, those stat lines sound pretty good for a backup, but he's young. As you said, the pressure's on, and week 1 in Soldier Field in a big game in the idea of it being a rivalry game. I mean, this is, as I said, 207 games. This will be number 207. That's a whole lot of football over a century between these teams and a long-standing rivalry. But I mean, you talked a little bit about the Bears' defense, but not only on the defense, but also on the offense. Some pickups that they had in free agency, spending a lot, like, for example, Tremaine Edmonds. Can you talk about those free agents?
Yeah, definitely. So the big pickups were at the linebacking core. It was the most improved unit on this team, and it's not even close. Tremaine Edwards came in, but also you had a TJ Edwards at linebacker, along with your undrafted free agent from last year, and Jack Sanborn rounds out the starting linebacking core. And Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards really replaced what Roquan Smith would have been money-wise, but it fills 2 positions. Tremaine Edmonds, almost a better player than Roquan in some senses, that he has a little bit more pass rushing ability than Roquan. I think Roquan's a little bit more solidified, a little bit less boomer bust from time to time. But Tremaine Edmonds is almost as talented, if not more talented, than Roquan. So I'm not upset about the disappointing loss of Roquan. The linebacking core, we should have no issues when it comes to your tight ends and stuff like that. I think that covering guys, even like Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, that have good wide receiving ability, they're not going to have issues. Plus, when it comes to your tight ends are one of the most slow developing players in all of the NFL. It takes them forever to finally get in a rhythm and get going. But then when it comes to other free agent pickups, the Bears have Nate Davis at guard, who should be playing. Tevin Jenkins is hurt and is on the injured list. So he will be out for sure. And I know a lot of the other players on the Bears offensive line. Cody Whitehair's been dealing with stuff. Nate Davis has. But overall, you should be fine. All the guys should be starting outside of Tevin Jenkins. And the Bears offensive line should be fine. The other pickup, obviously, DJ Moore in the trade. Obviously, that is probably going to be the biggest pickup of the offseason for the Bears, and possibly even the biggest and most important move in the entire NFL that offseason, just because I think DJ Moore is a clear number 1 wide receiver, and even some may argue a top 10 wide receiver, and I wouldn't completely disagree with the argument. So I think that addition is extremely helpful. I'm trying to think of any other additions. I think that's pretty much it. I did talk about Yannick Ngakoue earlier, and just kind of the defensive tackles. Yeah, I think that's it. You did bring in Dante Foreman, another running back, but Khalil Herbert will be your number one, and then Foreman and Roschon are kind of interchangeable at the number two position at running back. So that's our additions from the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, for the Packers, you talked about. I mean, I guess I'll start with the tight ends. Luke Musgrave, the draft pick, and Tucker Kraft, who you're probably going to see blocking more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then also in the draft, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and I want to say Malik Heath was undrafted. All three of those guys played pretty well in the preseason. I'm excited to see what they can do as the number 4, 5, and 6 receivers. Maybe you see them getting a little more playing time than you'd expect. I don't know how much we're going to see Samori Toure. On the depth chart, he's listed as a starter, but we'll see how much he actually plays. And then also, I mean, Packers bring in Lucas Van Ness, and then the draft pick, maybe a big steal depending on how he plays this season. If he gets enough playing time, hopefully he does. Carrington Valentine, the draft pick out of Kentucky, I think, played phenomenal in the preseason, and there is a lot of hype around him coming into the season. And then free agent signings, Jonathan Owens and Tarvarius Moore at safety for the Pack. And so, I mean, you brought in some decent players, but I wouldn't say that either of these teams are Super Bowl teams.
Yeah.
By any means. I think they both fall in the who knows what we're going to get out of them. The Bears probably better than the Packers. But yeah, so I guess we'll just go ahead and I'll ask any final thoughts before we give our score predictions.
Not really. I think it comes down to at the end of the day, the best quarterback, and I think that's going to be Justin Fields in this matchup. I think that's the first time that you can say that as a Bears fan in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, now that the bad man who still owns the Bears, Aaron Rodgers, is gone, hopefully those names translate to Jordan Love. But it'll be a fun one at Soldier Field. The spread, the Bears favored by 1 point. What is your score prediction?
I think that the Bears win this matchup. I think it's 28-17. I think the offenses start out a little bit slow, and I think that it ramps up a little bit towards the second half. And I do think that the Bears get the win 28-17 in a primetime-ish matchup at 4:25. So
yeah. So I'm going to agree with you that the Bears win this, as much as I hate to say that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go 27-24 Bears. I think it'll be close. I think Jordan Love has a decent day, but a lot of ground and pound as Aaron Jones will lead the way on the running side of things. So I think that's going to be it for us. And so make sure to stick around for our next segment, which will be with my dad, Jay Sorgi, the former Packers Radio Network host. So, yeah, we will see you all later.
See you guys.